and burn.
Hey everybody. So today I'm going to be discussing the 1990 made-for-TV movie, Too Young to Die. Now I had to say that like a question because the title of the movie is the question, Too Young to Die. This tells the story of Atina Marie Canaday, who is in this, the fictional character that Juliette Lewis is portraying. What's her name? Amanda. She is based on Atina. And what this tells the story of is how, essentially when Atina was a kid, she hooked up with an older dude. She ended up killing this other guy. And even though she was 15, 16 years old, she was sentenced to death as the result of the homicide. It was later overturned. I think it was overturned in the late 80s. And I know that Atina has since been released. I think she was released in 2008. Whereas the dude, the guy that motivated her to commit the murder, he's in prison for life. Rightfully so, because at the time he was an adult when he met her and she was a minor. So of course he's going to rot in prison. And I'm glad that she's out because I'm not entirely sure if you should be executing 15-year-olds. But at the same time, I mean, the way this movie has it set up is Amanda, she meets Billy, who's Brad Pitt's character, at this seedy piece of shit strip club, and he starts to just use and abuse her. But that's nothing new to Amanda because she's essentially been let down by every adult in her life. The movie starts off, unfortunately, with a touch of rape. So for anybody who doesn't love that sort of thing like me, be warned, it isn't incredibly graphic, but her stepfather is raping her on the regular. And when she attempts to tell her mom about this, her mom just blames her for sort of seducing her stepfather. And then her mom says the line like, oh, that's not. She's like, I know how to keep a man. He's not interested in you. Men don't stray that soon. I understand the idea of how to keep a relationship going. And then the mom chooses the scumbag stepdad over Amanda, and she just abandons her and leaves her. And then Amanda ends up getting married at 14 to her husband, who I think was in the military or something at that point. I think he was a minor as well. I think he was like 16. But he can't do it, so he leaves her, and that's where she comes across Billy, and Billy starts prostituting her out. He starts pimping her out, and one thing just leads to another, and eventually things get, it seems like, so bad for Amanda just when she meets this dude named Mike, and he is also in the military. He's a full-on adult. I think he's probably in his 30s at this point. And Mike's a cool guy. He genuinely wants to help her. He's got a couple kids. So he moves her in with him, and he says that she should just be able to live there rent-free so she can have like a greater sense of security because of her young age. He just doesn't feel it right that she's moving from place to place and dealing with scumbags like Billy. And it's not before long, though, that they end up getting physical themselves. I mean, the girl might only be 14 or 15, but unfortunately she's got the experience of like a 50-year-old. And she's been taught young to use sex to get what she wants. And then it's found out by Mike's commanding officer that she's living with him, and so he has to boot her. He doesn't want to, but he has no choice because they're going to court-martial him. So then again, Amanda finds herself homeless, back into the arms of Billy, who then motivates her to come and seek revenge on Mike, who is now dating a new girl, a new woman. I believe they're living together. And then Billy and Amanda abduct both of them, and Amanda she stabs Mike a number of times, killing him. And that is the crime that she is put on trial for and eventually convicted of course, because she did do it, and then eventually sentenced to death. I mean, this movie, it's funny because despite the abhorrent subject matter, because it's made for TV, it's a lot lighter, it's a lot more palatable. Like the rape, for example, at the start, that could have been a lot worse, but because this was made for TV, it had its teeth removed. So I liked that aspect of it, and it was incredibly well made for a made-for-TV movie. I think the strangest thing about this film, though, is the fact that it almost feels like a warm-up for Kalifornia, which Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis would essentially play the same characters. Brad Pitt's a serial killer in that, like a direct serial killer, and Juliette Lewis is sort of his muse again. And him, and David Duchovny and David Duchovny's girlfriend. David Duchovny in the movie, he's writing a book about serial killers, and he unwittingly hooks up with a couple serial killers. California is a cool movie. I wonder what happened to the old guy at the start of that. But yeah, so it feels like this movie's like the demo for that movie. Because I know at this point, Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis were dating. So they do feel like a real couple, and that's of course because they are a real couple, and that again just adds to the overall authenticity. But this movie's cool. It's easy to watch. It's a little gross, kind of off-putting. But again, because of the made-for-TV aspects, it's not really that bad. And I think actually that's where I'm going to leave it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little over 5 minutes while I discussed the 1990 made-for-TV movie, Too Young to Die? I hate question titles because I always feel like an idiot saying them. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go out and do something nice for somebody. But please never forget that the world is a hell of a lot more fun because you are in it. And I'm going to go. Have a good night.